The Nintendo Wii had a rockin' online store that was short-lived but never forgotten. I am the Game Collector and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I count down my top 10 WiiWare games.
Second Opinion Games.
In this list, I'm talking about some exclusive WiiWare games, so I want to bring a little attention to some games that didn't quite make it, like Doc Lewis's Punch-Out! It's a full Punch-Out game. Well, kind of. You just have to punch out Doc Lewis, and that's about it. But that's fine with me because I love the character that I'm playing against in this case, and he is just full of charm and wit in everything he says. Also, MDK2 was a Dreamcast title, but unfortunately, I don't like playing on the Dreamcast because of the one analog stick problem. I think on the Wii it plays far better, but because you could play it on the Dreamcast, I'm not including it on this list. Also, you might hear some really loud banging noises. That's because my game room's getting remodeled completely as we speak by professionals, so you know what? It's going to be a thing for a little while. And finally, Retro City Rampage. It did actually get an official release, sort of, in a very limited 5,000 run copy mode on some random website somewhere on the internet, but it was long after the WiiWare system was completely shut down. It's definitely deserving to be here, but it did get that physical release, so I'm not counting. Now, to the real list. Number 10, Mr. Driller. Why did it only take the number 10 spot? Well, because you didn't really miss out on anything if you took a pass on this WiiWare title, because you could have got the same experience playing on the Game Boy Advance. Matter of fact, I think the Game Boy Advance version actually has more options. If anything, this is just sort of a dumbed-down version of the GameCube exclusive that never came out here in America. Well, not until at least recently, where they remade the game on the Nintendo Switch. So if you really hunkered for some good old Mr. Driller, pick up that copy on the Switch, or unless you're really into the import scene and know how to read Japanese, to play it on the GameCube. So you couldn't go wrong for $5 picking up this WiiWare title. Number 9, Excitebike World Tour. Now, if you love the NES version of Excitebike, you're definitely gonna love this because it's essentially the same game. There are only 16 total maps here, and you're gonna race your way and love every single one of them. The whole goal is to get the best possible time, so even though there are other racers on the map, you're really not competing against them. More like they're extra obstacles that tend to get in the way. Now, you could overcharge the gas and overheat the bike itself, which is kind of a bad time. Or you could not stick to the landing quite as you like, which means you're gonna flip all over the place, in which case now you're gonna have to waggle the Wiimote in order to right yourself. Sometimes I think I could actually move faster by getting in accidents in certain spots, so use that to your advantage if you may. Also, there's spots on the screen that you could cool down by riding your bike over it, causing you to overcharge yourself all over again. And there's also trigger points that you could trigger special events, like causing hills to jump up out of nowhere, which is great if you want to make some really big air, which of course you always want to do. Some of these courses might look just like the old ones, and some of them are completely brand new, but one thing's for sure, it plays exactly like the NES version of Excitebike, and that's all I really needed and expected of this game. Number 8, Jet Rocket. Do you like a good Mario Sunshine clone? Well, that's what you get with this game, because you have a jetpack that sort of acts like FLUDD does in order to make jumps a little bit easier. However, most of the time, it's completely necessary to make it to new heights when playing this game. But it's not just that. Sometimes you could have jet ski levels, or maybe it's just an overall collectathon. The graphics are far more beautiful than they ever need to be for this type of title, and just making it under the limitations of the tight memory that it had to fit in to be a WiiWare title in general is actually quite amazing. I just don't know how they managed to pull it off, let alone such a great 3D action platformer game. It defies all logic that they made such a great downloadable title and never released it physically. This goes down as one of the great lost video games of our time. Number 7, and yet it moves. The first thing that might interest you about this game is the graphical style. It's like a paper pop-up book style, which is something that I really love. The other thing is the fact that this is an action platformer that's also momentum-based. So you control the environment by pressing the A button and then turning the Wiimote around in order to maneuver the entire environment around your character. Be careful though, because if you're moving too fast when you spin and then let go, you could go slamming into the earth really fast and explode into little tiny pieces. And that's when you hear the only sound effects that are really in this game. And they seem to be done by mouth. Now there's no music here, which is kind of weird, but it's probably because of that whole size limit of the file needed for the WiiWare whole thing going on. And I thought that that was a little weird because they could have just did some beatboxing and put that in as music. Matter of fact, I'll try it right now. It's lazy for sure, and it's barely there, but it sounds better than nothing at all, unless you wanted a truly creepy atmosphere, which is also what this game had. Now, seeing that you could get turned around really darn quick, because you're literally turning the whole world around, you have little ghost guys that will point you in the right direction, and some of these puzzles are deviously difficult. Sometimes you have to control bats to get them to scare away lizards, and other times you just have to get rocks to fall exactly the way you want. Any way you look at it, you're going to have a great time with this very fun platformer. Number 6, Zombie Panic in Wonderland. Now, Halloween-themed games are pretty much everyone's jam because Halloween's becoming quickly America's favorite holiday. You really don't have to do much. You could dress as stupid as you want, and you get to gorge yourself with tons of junk food and candy. And that's what I feel like this game really does well. It's just chicks with machine guns, and you could unlock quite a few really cool looking chicks, and that's all it really needs to be. Most of the challenge of the game comes from item management, because you could pick up grenades and flamethrowers and heavy machine guns, but in very limited amounts. So knowing when to use them, because also your ammunition on each of these cap out, means that you should use them more often than not, and not just save them for a super special occasion. If I want to say one thing that's kind of bad about the game, is that the levels go on maybe a little bit too long. But that's okay, because there's only about 10, 15 levels in the entire experience before you put it down for a month and then come back and play through the whole game again as a different character that you didn't try out the first time through. And a lot of really cool quick time dodging when giant monsters throw trees at you. This game could not be any cooler, and you know what? I really think it knows it. And I really would like to see more games like it today. Number 5, Lit. This could be way forward. You know those Shantae guys? Their darkest game they ever made. Quite literally, because you are completely in the dark. You have a flashlight that you have to recharge by shaking it for some reason or another. They had to work in that wool waggle effect. And you have a slingshot to break some windows to let a little bit of light in. Now, you have to not walk in the dark, because if you do, you'll be sucked down by evil demons in a pretty horrific way. Now, you can actually play this today on your cell phone of all places. It doesn't look nearly as good. It's all kiddified, and it's dumbed down to the simplest possible way to play the entire game, but it's still really fun. It still keeps all of the puzzles involved. However, the Wii really has a more unique atmospheric vibe to the whole thing. And I think it's one of the best horror games of its type I've ever played. I really like the puzzles here. They do get devious at times and make you want to give up. And sometimes you have to pick up TV remotes and turn stuff on. Sometimes too much stuff could be on at one time and you could blow a circuit, which means you're dead for sure then. So make sure you conserve as much battery and electricity as possible and stay out of the dark. Number 4, Fast Draw Showdown. Now, do you love full motion video games? No, probably not, because you played too much Mad Dog McCree and thought that those games were kind of garbage. Well, you know what? They were. Fast Draw Showdown is not a game like that, though, because in this, all you have to do is hold the Wiimote down and then lift it and accurately shoot the character on the screen. And you get a little bit of bad acting thrown in there in between each of the people you shoot, and the different characters you shoot are hilarious themselves. I really love every aspect of this game. Some people you have to shoot twice, some you have to shoot in certain parts of their body, and others are just hilarious just to see what lines of dialogue they chose to make them say. The one guy says, "I just had a good day. I shot my lawyer." Awesome. Just killing lawyer jokes is always hilarious. And you get some diversity here too. You could shoot a no good stinking Injun, which is something that I always wanted to do. Did I mention my wife's Native American? But we'll leave that for another story in case you guys didn't already know. And if you really want a good fast draw game, well, it's hard to get any better than this. And I've probably already over-explained a game that didn't need much explanation at all. Number 3, Fast Racing League. It's a racing game sort of like F-Zero or Wipeout. You have a hover car, you're going around crazy tracks and try not to run into things and blowing up. You're also trying to collect as many orbs as you can because they will equal boosts, and you're also shifting between white and black depending on what you're driving over. Also, there could be a black thing up on top and then you hit the button and fly on the top, or it turns white and you have to fly to dodge obstacles that could be on the ground with really tight corners, and then incredible motion controls that only the Wii seemed to ever want to really take full advantage of, which will make the game a lot harder than really it needs to be. Now, you could play Fast Racing Neo on the Nintendo Wii U, but it got its start right here on the Wii as a downloadable title that not many people have tried out, which is a shame because a lot of people were begging for a really good F-Zero title, and we already had it. They just didn't know about it because it was under a different name. And also the music is insanely good here, and the crashes are way over the top. And that's one of the things I tend to like most about a racing game, just watching how bad of wrecks that I could really get myself into, or wreck into other people. Any way you look at it, it's a great racing experience. Number 2, Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. Now, this was a remake of the Castlevania Adventure game from the old Game Boy Color, and I think the only reason they even mentioned that was to set the bar really low, because if it wasn't up to people that really love the Castlevania game's expectations, people would have flipped the freak out. But instead, by saying it's just Castlevania Adventure, everyone thought that the game was going to be garbage. So when it was somewhat good, people went nuts over it. And you know what? They really should have. Now, this isn't better than the Genesis version or either one of the Super Nintendo games, but what it is a competent Castlevania game, which is something that we really lack nowadays. Even if it's not the old Metroidvania style, it still has some branching paths if you pick up keys, and you can still explore every inch of this castle. The boss battles are still great to play against, and the controls aren't as stiff as they used to be, but are still quite stiff. If you really love Castlevania, then you definitely can't go wrong with this game, and it's just sad that they never took advantage of repackaging all the Rebirth games and shove them into one thing. Then you'll have a truly epic experience. I wonder what our last game will be. Number 1, Contra Rebirth. That's right, I am a true Contra fan, so of course I had to pick this up day one, and I was not disappointed. Now, I recommend you play through the game on easy at first, because when you get hit here and you die, you don't lose your special weapons, at least until you learn the patterns of the bosses and how the game truly works out. Then jump into playing it on normal mode, where now when you die, you go back to your standard machine gun, which is still a very capable weapon in this game. Now you only seem to have spread shot, lasers, and of course the homing gun to actually play through with, and you have some subtle nods to Pro Protector, and lots of Easter eggs with the whole Alien series, because Contra and Aliens are very closely connected, and most of the time you just get super over-the-top action. On top of it, the music is some of the best that the series has to offer, in a series that's known for having some great music. Also, the boss battles come in hard and fast and often, because essentially this entire game is just a giant boss rush mode. If this came out on the Super Nintendo just alongside Contra 3, you would be looking at one of the most well-remembered Contra experience as ever. Instead, it has completely forgot the time, rotting away on the WiiWare system, something that not many people even have on their Wii anymore, or completely lost their SD cards for. Any way you look at it, it's a darn shame that this one goes forgotten in time. And I think I already did a full review of this entire game, just showing you how awesome it is. And it's something that I will never forget because it truly is worthy of the Contra name, and it's definitely the best WiiWare title. But of course, that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.
Hey, amigo, say hello to my little friend, eh?
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I had a great time making it because I really do like to play the Wii, and the WiiWare was just so cool with some of its games that are completely awful and other ones that were just way too fun to be stuck on this dead platform. I really wish I would see a revival of some of these games, like Lit you could now play on your cell phone. Why can't I play Contra Rebirth on my cell phone? It's a no-brainer. It should be easy to port over, and I think everyone would really enjoy it. Or maybe even Fast Racing League would be really cool. With the motion controls on a cell phone would be just insane, and I think people are really missing out. So if I left off your favorite WiiWare game, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you have a favorite game in general that is kind of weird and not many people have played, well then let me know about it, because I love making lists like this all the time. And until later, I will see you again, guys.